Hi, this is Dreyer and welcome to the Financial Freedom Challenge, where our mission is to help you to create, to grow, to protect and to enjoy a life of absolute total abundance. And today let's talk about a surplus. Now, in order to understand what a surplus is, this is the first part of the formula, the focus part of the formula. So when we look at the formula for riches, we're going to find that, first of all, you need to have the intent. In other words, you must know who you are, where you want to be, and by when you want to be there. And that needs to be crystal clear. Then we need to adopt the right mindsets so that we can start working on this process and mastering the skills that we're going to need in order to get to where we want to be. Right. And then the third part is now we need to focus. And in the focus part, we need to start on first creating a surplus. Unless we're going to have a surplus, the process simply cannot start. And I see a lot of people have got problems with this portion, because they think they've got a surplus, but if you really go into it, you're going to find that they do not have a surplus. And what do I mean with that? Now, a surplus, there's different elements to the surplus. A surplus can mean when we start, we do not have something. In other words, we need to create the first, let's call it the first rand or the first dollar or the first pound or euro. And in order to do so, we need to find the surplus in a different way. And the way that I'm looking at it is we've got time. If you haven't got the money and you haven't got a job and you haven't got stuff, then you've got time. And that time represents a surplus, because what I'm going to do in that time, in the time that I've got, is going to determine the outcome along the way. In other words, in later years. So the first surplus that I need to create or make, if I don't know how to create it, is to have the time and to spend time in learning certain skills, or spend time to grow my money, or spend time to create money, or to create a business, or to create an investment. Okay, so that's the first thing. The second thing is, and by the way, I've got an acronym for that, that is called TEMS. In other words, the T stands for time. The E stands for effort. In other words, you have to put in time and effort into mastering the skills that you need in terms of your investment, or in terms of your business, or in terms of your job. Because otherwise, you're not going to, if you've got a job, you're not going to get a raise and create more of a surplus. Then the next part, the M in TEMS, simply stands for you must have the right mindsets. Now, we've actually addressed mindsets already, in terms of the belief systems. But if you do not believe that you can do it, I guarantee you that you're going to be stuck for the rest of your life, and you will not be able to move forward simply because of a limiting belief system. And that limiting belief system is direct the response and the results of a limited mindset. In other words, we need to work on ourselves, and the quickest and the best way to do that is to work on our mindsets, and then to learn the skills that we're going to need in order to increase our confidence and our belief systems. And then the last part is the S, and we can interpret this in two ways, but it basically stands for skill sets. In other words, if you do not have a surplus, it means that by learning the skill set, by putting in the time, the effort, the right mindset, and learning a new skill set, you will convert that by adding value. And we've talked about value yesterday. So the moment that I can start adding value to other people, suddenly, at that moment, I'm converting my skills to a surplus in terms of money. And so the greatest currency that you've got and that I've got is our ability to learn new skill sets, and to use that skill set to solve problems for other people or for ourselves. And if we can solve a problem to ourselves, we add value to ourselves, and the chances are almost 90% that other people may have the same problem that you've got. And by doing so, you can convert that surplus, the TEMS, the time, the effort, the mindsets, and the skills, into a hard currency like a rand, a dollar, or a pound, or a euro, or something like that. Right, so that is where the surplus comes in. Now, what's one of the downsides that I see in terms of surplus money? A person's got a job and they get a lot of money, and then they have to live. In other words, I'm getting income minus my standard of living, and then I'm supposed to have a surplus. But few people actually understand what this means, because I see a lot of people, they've got like unit trust, and they've got endowment policies and retirement annuities and stuff like that. But at the same time, they've got a massive amount of debt. Say, for example, their house mortgage and their cars and stuff. So if you compare the two, on this side, they try to invest in unit trust. Let's say it's R1,000 per month. On this side, they are repaying debt, but the interest portion on that is more than the R1,000 that they try to invest on this side. And simply by doing that, they're getting absolutely nowhere. So we need to understand what a surplus is, that this is not a true surplus. The moment that you're caught in this situation, you really haven't got a surplus unless your investment growth rate is higher than your financial freedom growth rate. Okay, so what does that mean? It simply means if I am repaying my debt and I'm getting, let's say, I'm repay it at 12% or 15% or 2%, depending on your situation in the country that you're at. But you've got the skill to let your surplus work for you. In other words, your investment portion at 55 or 100%, whatever your financial freedom growth rate may be. Then it is far better because then I've got a surplus, because I've counteracted the negative side. Let's call it the 10% interest. If I'm paying 10% interest on my mortgage, it simply means that if I'm making 60% here, for the same amount of money, I could have here it would have been 10%, but yeah, I'm getting 60%. In other words, my real growth will be 50%. And what I need to do is to compare that 50% to my financial freedom growth rate. So if my financial freedom growth rate is 55%, it's better for me to actually repay my debt, believe it or not. It's until I can get to a real 55%, in other words, 65%, where I could say, okay, I have got the skills to offset this and not start repaying my debt. And I hope that this will help you. Right, so how are we going, if I can capture and summarize what we've done today in terms of a surplus. A surplus, if you do not have a surplus, then we need to find and convert the time, the effort, the mindsets and skill sets into surplus in terms of hard currency. Unless we're going to do that, we can't start the process. Once we've got the surplus, now we can move on to the next part. And we also need to remember that surplus means that if you've got debt and you're repaying debt and you're getting more or less the same in terms of the growth on your so-called investments, that is far better to pay the debt instead of trying to invest. Especially, and you're only going to find that this is only going to work when you take responsibility for your own investments. In other words, the moment that you start giving your responsibility away to someone else, thinking that they're going to make you rich by working with your surplus, you've got a 0% chance that it's going to work. So today's challenge is very simple. Go and determine where and how can you get more time and use that time productively in learning skill sets that's going to help you with your investment or with your business or in terms of your job to help you to increase your income by getting raises and stuff like that. Because the more skills you've got, the more your employer is going to pay you. And that is basically all. And then the second thing is, of course, the moment that you've identify the one area where you can add most value to yourself and other people by learning that skill set, and then just take action and do that. So how can we take action? I think I've already mentioned that to you, and that is simply say, okay, put some time aside and say, okay, this hour and a half per day, every single day of my life, I'm going to dedicate, let's say, 20 minutes in terms of my health, and then at least an hour to work on myself in learning the right skill set. So you're going to identify what's going to give you and help you to get to your financial freedom growth rate. In other words, to make sure that your investment growth rate is higher than your financial freedom growth rate. And then start learning those skills. And the quickest way for me to learn a skill is to follow someone that has already master that skill set, and especially if that person has got a system in place, is to simply say, okay, be my mentor or coach me so that I can learn this, so that I can incorporate that into my life. That's the quickest way. But it's going to take time, it's going to take effort, it's going to take the right mindsets, it's going to take responsibility, and it's going to take massive, massive action. So in closing, always remember that in order to create financial freedom, you must make sure that today is going to be a perfect day. And what do I mean with a perfect day? It simply means that what you've set out to do and what you're supposed to do, not only set out to do, but what you're supposed to do, that you've actually done that. And that simply means that each and every day in your life, there's never going to be a day in your life that won't require you to take the responsibility, to have the intent, to know exactly what it is that you want. And to me, it was very simple, and it's still very simple. What's my financial freedom growth rate? Because from an investment point of view, from financial freedom point of view, all I have to do is to outperform my financial freedom growth rate. And if I've got the skills to be able to do that, and I do that in two ways, that is through my investments, specifically property, or through my investments in terms of businesses, then it's easy. So make sure that you know exactly your intent and by when do you want that. And another thing, you already know that income to me is more important than capital, and for that reason I focus on getting the income instead of the capital. And then put in the time and put in the effort. Make sure that you work on your mindsets and the right environment each and every day of your life. And then, of course, take massive, massive action, because consistently doing what needs to be done is the only way that you're going to get the results that you want. Therefore, each and every action that you're going to take today, especially the mental, the physical, your relationship, every single action that you're going to take today is either going to take you one step towards your goal or one step away from your goal. Therefore, if you want to guarantee yourself financial freedom, make sure that you challenge yourself today to make optimum use of your surplus. Identify that surplus and then say, okay, but how can I convert my time, my effort, my mindsets, and the skill sets that I've got in order to outperform my financial freedom growth rate? And that's all. Right. So as always, if you've got any questions or comments or suggestions regarding financial freedom, please leave them in the comment box and I will come back to you and see if I can help you. And then also remember to subscribe to my blog, that is blog.honestdreyer.com. If you're not already on my blog, and also to my YouTube channel, please just Google or go to YouTube and search for Honest Dreyer, and you'll find my channel there. And then regarding my heart rate feedback, yes, some feedback. I've done what I'm supposed to do, so I feel good about that as well. But it's not only about that. I've also made then 54 or 55 videos in a row without skipping a beat. Right, and sometimes, like today, it's actually quite challenging, but we've got it. Right, and then please share this video with other people if you think that it can help them in any shape or way or form. And then the last thing, I really hope that you've enjoyed and learned something from this. The surplus is the starting point, and unless we've got the surplus, I start each and every day by saying, if you want financial freedom, you must first learn how to create, then how to grow, then how to preserve, and then how to enjoy it. At the moment, we are busy with the enjoying part. It's the end of the enjoying part. We're going home. Tanya wants to go to her grandchild. I wanted to stay a couple of days longer, but I can see that today is going to be the day that we're going to go home. So it was really, really great and nice for me to make this little video, and I really hope that you've enjoyed it. So I'll see you then tomorrow.